if the absence of something that you want has your attention, then you delay its manifestation. And that's what often happens. You are giving so much attention to what is, and by giving your attention to what is, you're holding yourself in vibrational alignment with what is. So what is seems to hold steady. Now it doesn't really, because nothing holds steady. Everything is constantly becoming in response to your current chronic thought offering. When you think, you offer a vibration. You are vibrational beings first and foremost. Law of attraction responds to the vibration that you're offering. So whatever it is that you are thinking about, and therefore offering a vibration about, you develop these patterns of attraction, you might say, that are so consistent that you begin to think that things aren't changing. You say, I have been living this for as long as I can remember, and it's not changing. And we say, yes, it is changing. Everything's changing. It's just changing to the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. Sometimes it's even different faces and different places, but it's essentially the same thing. Jerry and Esther have been on a run of hotels not bringing their breakfast. It seems to be almost as far back as they can now remember. And this morning again, their breakfast, when they wondered why it didn't come, they opened the door and the breakfast card was still hanging on the door where they had put it last night, which meant they weren't in line. And when Esther called down, the nice woman said, it will be quite a while before we can get your breakfast to you because the kitchen is really backed up. And Esther said, I know, we were supposed to be part of that backup. Our order should have been in there, but it isn't. And we play with them, and they were playful about it too, because they no longer are in the place, the unsuccessful place of feeling resentment at the failing of the hotel to pick up their card, because they know they haven't cleaned up their vibration. They left it there in the last hotel and the one before that and the one before that and the one before that. So you see, their breakfast order is changing. It's just changing to the same thing over and over and over again. So they were playful about it this morning. They only blamed each other for a little while. When neither one of their breakfasts are there, it's hard to decide whose fault it is. And Esther denied having any part in this. She said, I never gave it a thought. And we say, we know you left it right where you left it. In other words, when you have repeated experiences and you notice them, you develop patterns of thought. Now, you call those patterns of thoughts beliefs in time. But Esther would not want to admit that she has a belief about every hotel kitchen in the country. She really does not believe that they're all the same. She doesn't think the same group of irresponsible people is following her from hotel to hotel. It seems that way, but it is not happening that way. It is that the response to their vibration is following them everywhere they go. You see, you take yourself with you everywhere you go. And how you feel about things you take with you too. And so when you see something that you don't like and you acknowledge, we don't like this, this is inconvenient, things should be different than this, what are they doing wrong? What are we doing wrong? Why is this gone wrong? Well, you just develop a little pattern that law of attraction keeps matching, so that the person who is assigned to your floor is the flaky one, or is the one who didn't show up for work at all, or is the one who got a phone call and then lost his place in the hallway and thought he'd already been down that one and hadn't. In other words, the universe is so clever in giving you exactly what you are offering vibrationally every single time. So we know that when things are going really well, that's when you like to announce, I am the creator of my own reality. And Esther said to the nice girl who brought the breakfast, it's not your fault. We take full responsibility for your not bringing our breakfast on time. we take responsibility for it, and we say taking responsibility for it is certainly the first step. But then if you don't like what you're getting, you got to think different thoughts. And that's the thing that, even as smart as Jerry and Esther are, and as many of these gatherings that they have attended, and we want to tell you it's been all of them, still, what is very compelling. What is, do you know that what is gets most of your attention? And do you know that most of you offer your vibration in response to what you're observing? So if what you're observing is what you like, then that's a good thing, because you just keep holding steady on things that you like. But if what you're viewing, what you're focusing on, what you're getting isn't pleasing to you, then you've got to tell a different story. You've got to envision something differently. You've got to pick through the memory of your mind for events in the past. You've got to observe in the plethora that surrounds you. You've got to imagine with the clarity of your mind the details of your life the way you like them. Now, many would say, this is not a very big thing in the scheme of things. Jerry and Esther have a magnificent life. They are in love. They have magnificent people around them. They have beautiful buildings in progress everywhere. They have work that is fulfilling. In other words, in the scope of what they are about, they have not a problem in the world. They are healthy. They are vital and alive and eager. But their damn breakfast never comes. And what we want you to realize is, if you've got something that's off in your experience, it's really worth it to put it in your mind the way you want it. But more important, this is the thing we really want to say to you. If your breakfast doesn't come, even though other things are going well, and you resent the fact that your breakfast didn't come. Now, resent is a strong word, but when you're in a hurry, it matters. So when something matters and it doesn't work out the way you want it to, it's easy to get into a feeling of resentment. When you resent something like that, now it's not important, is it? But resentment is. Resentment matters, because when you use anything as your excuse to not flow as you really flow, to not be who you really are, and there are several of those things, in other words, as you move through the day, there could be a lot of picky little things. As you move through traffic, people might not move the way you want them to. The car wash might tear off your antenna. In other words, there are all kinds of things that might happen in a day that aren't important in the whole scheme of things, but these picky little things that you use as your excuse to think and feel are what make up the basis of your vibration. And so it's really worth cleaning it up. In other words, we would never, if we were standing in their physical shoes, and on occasion we are, we would never leave a hotel where breakfast had not come without spending at least as much time as it took to receive that breakfast and eat that breakfast, without spending at least that much time finding the feeling place of the way you want things to go. In other words, it's really worth it. Now, sometimes people say, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. And we say, you don't have time not to do that. There's such leverage in thought vibration. So if you would take the time, if they would take the time to, might take 15 or 20 minutes, might take half an hour, and it would be fun. If they would take the time to clean up that vibration, do you know how many future mornings would be more effective and productive for them? And if they don't, do you know how many future mornings will be hesitant and less than comfortable and not flowing? They have 2 sleeping rooms because they like 2 bathrooms, because they both like to take long baths, and they like to do it at the same time. They like to wake up at the same time. They like to do everything at the same time, and they like to have the space to do it, especially on a fast-moving morning. And so the big confusion this morning was, who should wait for the breakfast and when will it come? In other words, it was not important, but it was not efficient, We're just doing a sales job on cleaning up the vibration. In other words, seems like a lot of time to spend on something so unimportant. But we want to convey to you that you are physical beings, yes, but you are vibrational beings most. And the vibration of your being is what law of attraction is responding to. And there's no point in you not living perfect lives. There's no point in the universe knocking itself out, and it does, to line up all kinds of circumstances and events for you, and you to be out of whack with them because you're focused upon something that in the whole scheme of things doesn't matter at all, you see. Now, many would say, oh, but if all of the big things are going well, then what do these little things mean? And we say, when time is what your issue is, and that is what it is for Jerry and Esther these days. In other words, the more they create, the more important timely things matter, the more important they are. And so everybody sort of has their dominant issue that you are working on. And law of attraction is just reflecting back to you constantly how you're doing. And this is the thing that we really want to talk about here today. We want to talk about anything that you want to talk about. But the new piece that we want to give to you is that when you understand that law of attraction is responding to you, and that means that what's manifesting in your experience, and you have to face it, what does the word manifestation mean to you? For some it means the new car in the garage. For some it means the garage. For some it means the job or the relationship. But when we use the word manifestation, we're talking about the culmination of what your life is in this moment. How it's turning out, how it's turning out, how it's turning out, how it's turning out. How does your body feel? How does your body look in relationship to what you want? How do your material things, that is all part of it. What's your bank account look like? Does it look like what you want it to look like? What's your sense of freedom? What is your dominant relationship like? What are your relationships like? In other words, whatever is, if you were to write in your diary, this is what's happening now. Whatever is manifestation. And here's the part we want you to hear. It's manifestation that is an indicator of your patterns of thought, of your patterns of vibration. So indicator is the word. We will say manifestation over and over and over, actualization, manifestation, real life. But what we want you to hear whenever you hear those words from now on is indication of vibration. Indication of vibration. Period. It's just an indication of vibration. So if your current indications of vibration aren't pleasing you in every way, all you got to do is change the vibration. That's all you got to do is change the vibration. And that's the point that we want to make. Seems simple. We know you hear it. But when we see someone as smart as Jerry and Esther doing the same thing over and over and over and over again and having the same knee-jerk response to it and not taking the time to offer a different vibration, even though they really, really, really don't like the indicator they're getting, that would be like ignoring the empty gauge on your gas tank. The little bell rings and the little low fuel warning light comes on. And Jerry says, how many miles can we go? How many miles can we go before we tend to that indicator? Which is fine because the car tells them 48, 47, 46, 45. How close do you want to push it before you fill back up? 43, 42. And we say, as long as you know that you are within the range of comfort, then please yourself. But when you get to the point, about then, Esther starts saying, far enough for me, how about you? The gauge in the bus, they don't know about. It holds so many gallons of diesel fuel. And when it says empty, there are usually about 70 gallons left. Because they don't want that big bus to run out of fuel. It's a big thing if that engine loses its prime. So when that gauge shows empty or even approaching it, they do something about it right away. And we want you to realize that every time something isn't the way you want it to be, it's an indicator that is like a gauge of fuel indicator that is telling you it's time for you to make some sort of adjustment.